The conference chamber aboard the Zetharian dreadnought Eternal Dominion hummed with the confidence of inevitable victory. Fleet Commander Thraz'ik examined the holographic display with 4 of his 6 eyes, mandibles clicking in what his species considered amusement. "These humans," he said, his translator rendering the word with barely concealed contempt. "They fight with kinetic projectiles. Actual metal slugs propelled by chemical explosions." His tactical officer, Varen, fluttered his sensory appendages in agreement. "Our intelligence confirms it, Commander. Their space vessels still use rocket propulsion, fusion drives at best, and their ground forces. They haven't even developed plasma weaponry." Thraz'ik's laughter echoed through the chamber, joined by his bridge crew. 300 cycles of galactic dominance had taught the Zetharian Hegemony one unshakable truth: technological superiority meant military supremacy. The humans had been warned to surrender their resource-rich system. They had refused. Now they would learn the price of defiance. "How long do our war computers estimate this campaign will take?" Thraz'ik asked, already imagining the commendation. 17 standard hours, Commander, Varen replied. "Possibly less. Their defensive positions are primitive. Fixed fortifications. No shield networks. They don't even have faster-than-light communication between their colonies." What the Zetharian command failed to understand, what their pristine war algorithms couldn't calculate, was that humanity had evolved on a world that spent 4 billion years trying to kill everything on it. Earth wasn't just a planet, it was a crucible. A death world where the weak died and the survivors learned to be creative, vicious, and absolutely relentless. The Zetharian fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system in perfect formation. 87 warships, each bristling with energy weapons, matter disruptors, and shield generators that could withstand a sun's corona. They advanced toward Mars, where human settlements dotted the terraformed surface like vulnerable targets on a shooting range. Detecting defensive platforms, Varen reported. "Preliminary scans show, Commander, they're using tungsten rods, kinetic kill vehicles. This is technology we abandoned 5,000 cycles ago." "Ignore them," Thraz'ik ordered. "Our shields will." The first rod struck the Eternal Dominion at 30 kilometers per second. 20 tons of tungsten carbide moving with the kinetic energy of a tactical nuclear weapon. The shields held. Barely. Then 3 more rods hit in rapid succession, and the shield generators overloaded. "Impossible," Thraz'ik roared. "Recalculate their velocity. Those projectiles can't be moving that fast without exotic propulsion." But they were, because humans had learned something the Zetharians forgot in their technological advancement. Sometimes the simplest weapons are the most effective, especially when you make them really, really fast. Admiral Sarah Chen watched the tactical display aboard the UN's Indomitable, humanity's first true warship. Around her, the Combat Information Center buzzed with controlled chaos. "All railgun platforms, continuous fire," she ordered, her voice calm, despite knowing that the fate of her species hung in the balance. "Target their shield generators. Mac rounds ready on my command." Her XO, Commander James Akoy, coordinated the defensive grid. "Ma'am, enemy vessels are attempting to bypass Mars. They're splitting formation." Chen smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. "Good. They're doing exactly what we want. Helm, bring us about. Launch all missiles, full spread." The Zetharians had shields that could deflect energy weapons. They had point defense systems designed to intercept sophisticated guided munitions. What they didn't have was an adequate defense against 10,000 missiles, each carrying a 50-megaton warhead, launched simultaneously from positions throughout the inner system. "They're not even guided," Thraz'ik realized with growing horror. "They're using predicted trajectories, firing blind and relying on probability." What kind of species wastes resources like this? The kind that had been perfecting the art of killing each other for 10,000 years. The kind that had written entire libraries on warfare. The kind that had survived ice ages, supervolcanoes, and multiple extinction events by being too stubborn to die. The first nuclear detonations painted the void with brief, terrible suns. Zetharian shields, designed to diffuse energy weapons over their entire surface, concentrated all their power on narrow points. They burned out within seconds. Ships that had dominated entire sectors found themselves crippled by weapons their enemies considered obsolete. "All ships, emergency hyperspace jump." Thraz'ik commanded, but human ingenuity had one more surprise waiting. Every vessel that attempted to activate their FTL drives found their systems crashing, infected by viral code that had been hidden in automated trade transmissions months earlier. Humanity's cyber warfare division had infiltrated Zetharian networks before the first shot was fired. On Mars, the story was even worse for the invading ground forces. Commander Krath led the first wave personally, his powered armor making him confident, and his plasma rifle marking him as a superior warrior. The human defensive positions looked pathetic: concrete bunkers, trenches, physical barricades. Then the artillery started. 155mm shells, each containing 40 pounds of high explosives, began falling like rain. The Zetharians' personal shields, magnificent against energy weapons, offered almost no protection against shrapnel moving at supersonic speeds. Krath watched in disbelief as his elite troops were shredded by technology that predated spaceflight. "Fall back," he screamed into his calm. "These humans are insane. They're using chemical explosives in enclosed spaces. They're destroying their own infrastructure." A human voice crackled over the captured frequency, speaking perfect Zetharian. "Yeah, we can rebuild. Can you regrow limbs?" The speaker laughed. "Welcome to Earth's backyard, asshole. Population, US. Life expectancy yours? Not long." Staff Sergeant Maria Rodriguez hefted her rifle, a weapon her great-grandfather might have recognized, and smiled at her squad. "Remember, people, short-controlled bursts. These fancy alien bastards have shields, but shields don't stop bullets that come in hot and heavy. Overwhelm their defenses." Her squad moved through the Martian tunnels with practiced efficiency, using tactics refined in urban combat zones across Earth. The Zetharians had superior technology. Humans had superior doctrine, training, and the willingness to do absolutely whatever it took to win. When Krath's forces attempted to use their overwhelming firepower, they discovered another unpleasant truth about human warfare. The humans had artillery spotters forward, calling down fire on their own positions if it meant taking out the enemy. They used shape charges and close-quarters tactics. They fought in ways the Zetharian tactical computers couldn't predict, because those computers were based on logic, and human warfare often defied logic in favor of results. Back in space, Admiral Chen coordinated humanity's counteroffensive with cold precision. "All ships, advance. Target their command vessel. Give them everything we've got." The Indomitable surged forward, its magnetic accelerator cannons firing solid tungsten penetrators the size of telephone poles. Each round carried the kinetic energy to crack a planet's crust. The Eternal Dominion, already crippled, never stood a chance. Thraz'ik felt his ship dying around him. Emergency klaxons wailed. Hull breaches vented crew into space. His tactical displays showed a catastrophe beyond comprehension. 70% of his fleet was destroyed or disabled. The humans were winning. The humans, with their primitive, chemical rockets and kinetic weapons. The humans, who shouldn't have stood a chance. "Broadcast surrender," he whispered, his voice translator barely functioning. "All ships, ceasefire. We surrender." The human response was immediate. "Surrender accepted. Power down all weapons. Any hostile action will result in complete destruction. Welcome to Sol. You're not welcome here, but you'll live." This time, in the aftermath, the Galactic community received recordings of the battle with disbelief. The Zetharian Hegemony, one of the most powerful military forces in known space, had been defeated in less than 6 hours. Not by superior technology, not by numbers, but by tactical brilliance, strategic preparation, and a species that refused to accept the possibility of defeat. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Ambassador Tavara of the Sivian Concordat spoke for many when she said, "We've reviewed humanity's military history. They've fought 14,000 documented wars against each other. They've developed 95,000 different ways to kill each other, and that's just what they've recorded. They come from a Class 12 Deathworld, where 95% of all species that ever lived went extinct." She paused, letting that sink in. Humanity didn't just survive. They thrived, they evolved to fight, to adapt, to overcome. Every predator on their world was trying to eat them. Every disease, every disaster, every challenge made them stronger. We thought their weapons were primitive. We were right. They are primitive. But they're primitive the way a sharpened stick is primitive. Simple. Direct. Incredibly effective when wielded by someone who knows exactly how to use it. Admiral Chen stood before the Sol Senate, accepting humanity's highest military honor. But her speech wasn't triumphant. It was measured, careful. We didn't win because we're better. We won because we prepared. Because we understood our enemy and ourselves. Because we were willing to pay any price for our freedom. She looked directly at the cameras broadcasting across human space. "But let this be a lesson to anyone else considering hostile action against Earth. We are not conquerors, we are not aggressors, but we are survivors. We are fighters. And if you come to our home looking for a war, we will give you one you'll never forget." On the Zetharian homeworld, Fleet Commander Thraz'ik sat in a prison cell, awaiting trial for his failure. He would spend the rest of his life studying humanity's military history, trying to understand how he'd lost so completely. The answer was in every page he read. Humanity didn't fight wars to win glory or expand territory. They fought wars to survive, and survivors do whatever it takes. The final report sent to the Galactic Council included one sentence that would be repeated in military academies. Across 1,000 worlds, humanity should have been dead a dozen times in their evolutionary history. They chose not today every single time. Do not make the mistake of thinking you will be the exception. In the officers' club aboard the Indomitable, Sergeant Rodriguez raised her glass alongside Admiral Chen. To humanity, Rodriguez said, the species too stubborn to die. Chen smiled, touching her glass to Rodriguez's. Too stubborn, too crazy, and too damn creative. Here's to being underestimated. Again, outside the viewport, Earth turned slowly, a blue marble that had forged its children in fire and hardship. The Deathworld that created a species which refused to surrender, refused to yield, and refused to accept that any fight was unwinnable. A world that had taught its children one fundamental lesson. When someone asks if you're dead, the only acceptable answer is not today. And they meant it.